All right, boys, we're doing a Splatoon weapon tier list.
Okay, hold on. Let me finish my Anarchy series game first. Yo, Joe, you joining or what?
Yeah, let me get my computer on first.
Joe, you actual idiot, you wouldn't be on Discord if you didn't have your computer on.
Damn it, I lost my game. That's 3 losses in a row and now I'm down points.
Haha, sounds like a skill issue.
Shut up, let's just get this started.
All right, so the first weapon we have is the Clash Blaster.
More like the Ass Blaster. Put that thing in D tier.
No, I think it's really good because I don't have to hit my shots to do damage.
Of course, you would be the type of person to use the Clash Blaster, but it still has its uses, so I think it belongs in the C tier.
Yeah, I agree.
The next weapon is the OG Blaster.
It's pretty much the most basic blaster. It's pretty good, but decent at best.
I'm thinking B tier.
I'm actually going to agree with Joe here. All right, next is the Luna Blaster.
It's basically a Clash Blaster, but better, so B tier.
Next is the Range Blaster, and personally I think it's a good weapon if you can learn and master it, but it's really hard to do so.
I think B tier as well.
Next is the Rapid Blaster Pro, and I don't think anyone uses this piece of garbage. It's like a Rapid Blaster, but worse, speaking of Rapid Blaster.
The Rapid Blaster is really strong support, and it has triple ink strikes, which are really OP right now.
Overall, the blasters are pretty meh because they can't paint well, but they have good damage if you can hit your direct shots.
All right, next are the Brellas, which are my favorite. They provide cover, then I can shoot them. Blam!
Joe, have you taken your meds today? Because you're forgetting that Brellas are the worst weapon class because Nintendo doesn't fucking care about them. They leave them broken on the inside and on the outside.
Trump, you okay, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Unlike the Brellas, all of them are low tier. You know what? I'm going to make a separate F tier for undercover Brella.
Next are the brushes, and they're good if you know when to poke in at the enemy. They're mostly used for being annoying and being good at running away.
I don't really like them because they remind me of cross country, if you get my drift.
The Octo is easier to kill with than the ink brush, which is why I like it more.
Next is the Bamboozler, and oh, how the mighty have fallen. This thing used to be so OP with MPU, but without it, it's nothing.
Next are the E-leaders, and now these are really good in the meta right now. With all the maps being very vertical and with almost no flank routes, these things can dominate the battlefield.
Obama, you're sounding a lot like Sheldon right now.
What's wrong with Sheldon? He seems like a nice guy, and he clutches in story mode.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, now we have the Goo Tuber, and this thing is just utterly trash unless you're using it for Tenta missiles. Then you're even more trash than the weapon.
Yeah, the Tenta missiles are the only redeeming quality of the weapon. Other than that, any other charger is better than the Goober.
Who the fuck calls it a goober? And of course you like missiles.
Next are the OG chargers, and they're pretty good right now as well, but they don't have the range and dominance of an E-leader.
Next is the Squiffer, and I remember when I used to main this thing. I could hit shots left and right, and people would fear me.
People also feared your presidency.
I don't like chargers because some Japanese name guy can always hit me, and when I use them myself, my hands get all shaky, and I can't hit a shot.
Sounds like the Joe we all know and love. Next is the Dapple Dualies. They have good DPS, but not enough range.
They're mostly used for support with beacons and the Tacti cooler.
Next are the Gluga Dualies, and these things are the biggest piece of dog shit I've ever seen. Even with the best kit possible given to them, they're still below par.
Next are the OG Dualies, and they're just mid. Not too great, not too bad. Probably on the high end of the C tier.
Another sad weapon, which are the Dualie Squelchers. They don't have much killing power and just dodge around most of the time.
Trump, that's literally what the weapon is for, to dodge shots and draw attention. But I have to agree with your low rating. Not many people use it either.
Next are the Dark Tetra Dualies, which are probably the only competitive Dualies. They have much more range than they deserve to have, and it even comes with 4 dodge rolls.
I like to go all over the place with them. Tetras are so fun I can go side to side or up and down.
Maybe that's why we lose every time you use them. Anyways, next is the Dynamo Roller, which is the only heavy roller there is. Its one-shots are very inconsistent, and it has very bad ink efficiency.
Next is the Flingza Roller, which is a lot like the Dynamo Roller.
Oh, we're down here now. I guess Trump's fat-ass head was blocking the tier list.
Haha, good one, Joe.
Shut up, Joe. You were blocking it too, and I'm supposed to be like a wall, remember?
All right, next is the OG Roller, which is only usable because it has a curling bomb, which it needs.
I like the rollers because I get to roll and smash many unsuspecting children.
Ayo, who let this EDP wannabe that be president? Anyway, next is the Carbon Roller, which is unusable because it doesn't have the burst bomb, which it needs to finish off kills.
Now on to the shooters, Nintendo's favorite weapon class.
First is the 52 Gal, which I like because it has a wall to keep other enemies out. It has a fast kill time and good range.
The 52 Gal is definitely one of the strongest main weapons out there. Next is the 92 Gal, which is like its counterpart, but worse. All it has going for it is more range, but its kit is actually garbage, and it's hard to hit 2 consecutive shots with it.
Yay, now it's time for the arrow spray. It paints really well, and I can dominate all the little children in turf war.
Joe, you imbecile. The Aerospray has one of the worst kill times in the game. Its spread is terrible. And we're talking about competitive play here. Not little fun time with your friends who still shit their pants.
Next is the Jet Squelcher. This thing used to get carried by the special it had, but now most specials aren't so broken, so this thing is just mid.
Yep, I remember how you could just constantly charge a Stingray with it and get a couple of free kills.
Wait, didn't it have 10 missiles before?
Joe, how did you become president with this type of memory? The Jet had both missiles and Stingray in 2 different kits.
Okay, now we have the NZAP. It's a lot like the Splash, but with a more of a support aspect to it. It's pretty mid as well.
Again, another weapon that could spam op specials. This time it's the ink armor.
Ooh, I like the orange one.
We're getting to the alternate weapon kits after all the weapons, Joe. All right, next are the nozzle noses. I honestly have never seen anyone using these piece of garbage, waste of space, no good burst firing weapons.
Yay burst weapons are usually slept on in shooter games, but in the right hands they can be pretty lethal.
I like the H3 a lot because it makes a satisfying noise when you hit all your shots on someone.
Now it's time for the Kensa 52 Gal of Splatoon 3, the Splasher-matic. This thing is so fucking OP, and Nintendo finally decided to nerf it a tiny bit in the most recent update.
No shocker here. I'm pretty sure everyone saw this S rating coming. With its overpowered crab special and the utility of the burst bomb, it's a force to be reckoned with. Now we have the Splattershot Jr., which is good support and good paint. Nothing much to be said about it.
Next, the Splattershot Pro, probably the worst shooter in the game. The only thing it has going for it is a 3-shot kill, which a lot of other weapons have. Terrible firing rate and terrible paint.
Next, the OG Splattershot, probably the best average weapon in the game. It has a 3-shot kill, fast firing rate, and a good kit.
Now for the Sploosho-matic. This thing sucks massive dong as it doesn't have any range whatsoever and gets shit on by any other weapon. You have to be really sneaky to play it.
Next is the Squeezer, a really unique weapon as it has 2 firing modes, one for killing and one for painting. The painting one is very inefficient and people barely use it.
My finger feels like it's about to fall off every time I use the squeezer.
Joe, you just got to be a man and suck it up.
Yay, next is the Blob Blobber. I love just randomly firing it all over the place and getting free kills.
Oh, so you're one of those, huh?
Joe, that's exactly why so many people hate the weapon.
Just for that, it's going in C tier.
All right, next is the OG Slosher, and all I can say is that it's mid.
Only thing it's good at is shooting over walls. And just for that reason, I'm putting it in C tier. Things in this world should not be able to pass a wall.
All right, next is the Explosher, which is the best painting backline, and its only use is pretty much in splat zones, but it does a really good job at what it does. It can also spam point sensors to support your team as well.
Here we go again, another broken weapon. Remember when the sloshing machine could shoot through floors?
Yes, and with its incredibly big hitbox paired with the fizzy bombs it can spam, it's unstoppable.
Now for the Tri-Slosher, and I gotta say, they made this thing look terrible compared to Splatoon 2.
And its kit really doesn't do anything for the weapon.
Now time for the Splatanus, really fun weapon class.
They're both really good, but I'd say the Stamper is slightly better just because it can combo its damage a lot better.
Oh boy, time for the Splattlings.
Heavy Splattling and Hydra Splattling are 2 different weapons, but they're both very good.
Heavy is better on paint, and Hydra is better for damage. Hydra is especially good when the other team doesn't have an E-leader.
That's why Hydra isn't OP right now, because E-leaders are really good and they hard counter Hydra.
Now for the mini Splatling, hey Joe, you must like the weapon because you love small things. Other than that, it's pretty below average.
Next is the Nautilus, which is a really technical weapon that can dominate if you practice enough. Still, it's pretty mid.
Next is the Reflux, which used to be my favorite weapon before they nerfed 10 missiles.
Joe, the reason they nerfed it is because people like you exist who only spam missiles and don't use the main weapon properly.
Next is the Tri-Stringer, which is a pretty decent backline. I think it deserved high B tier or low A tier. Its object damage is insane.
Now time for the weapons not released on launch date.
First is the Luna Blaster Neo, which is better than the OG Luna just because it doesn't have Zipcaster.
Next is the Ink Brush Nouveau, which is worse than the OG Ink Brush just because it has mines and a malfunctioning special.
Next is the Snipe Rider, which I like because it makes me feel like John Wick.
Nonetheless, it's still a hunk of junk, straight to D tier.
Next, the Dapple Dualies Nouveau, another weapon massacred by a non-working special.
Now the Big Swig, which has a stupid kit for a roller and all it does is paint well. It does absolutely no damage.
With a better kit, it could be a little better. Plus, it can one-shot with a vertical swing, although it's a little precise. Yeah, it's still garbage nonetheless.
Now here's the good carbon kit because it actually has Burst Bomb. Without Burst Bomb, it can't really finish off kills. I'm going to put the other one lower just because this carbon exists.
Ooh, now it's the Aerospray, but gold.
Different color, same garbage, still a tier.
Now we got the custom Splattershot Jr., which in my opinion provides almost the same support as the OG Splattershot Jr.
Next, the Splattershot Nova and I want to know what Nintendo was smoking when they made this weapon.
Yeah, the Nova's pretty bad just because it barely does any damage.
And look, another pile of steaming horse crap, the Forged Splattershot Pro. Although this one is slightly better than the regular because it has a better kit.
Now time for a good weapon, the Tentatek Splattershot. It's like the OG Splattershot, but with strikes, which make it really good.
And back to another garbage weapon. They ruined the Slosher Deco by giving it Zipcaster. What were they thinking?
Then the Zinc Mini Splattling. The main weapon is just as bad as the OG one.
Ooh, the Clash Blaster, but red.
Joe, the Clash Blaster Neo has a considerably worse kit than the OG Clash Blaster, and the Clash Blaster weapon itself is still bad.
Next up is the Rapid Blaster Deco, which has a better sub-weapon than the OG one, but Inkjet isn't really all that great compared to Ink Strike, so it's about the same.
Oh, now for the Z plus F chargers. I really like them because they have a wall.
Yes, Trump, and they also have Ink Strikes, which are both good on defense and offense, making these better than the OG Splat Chargers.
Now for the Crack-On Roller. I love turning into a giant squid and mauling children to death.
Although beacons aren't the preferred sub-weapons for rollers, the Kraken is just so OP right now. Speaking of Krakens being OP, the 96 Gal Deco is a really good weapon with wall and everything. Trump 96 should have been in a tier.
Oops, I forgot. Anyways, the custom Jet Squelcher is pretty mid, just like the OG version.
But it's definitely better because it doesn't have angle shooter.
Now for the Trump and Zap since it's orange.
Haha, Joe. I've heard that joke a million times. Well, the end zaps are all pretty mid either way.
Now here's a slightly usable nozzle nose. This L3 nozzle nose can actually finish off kills because it has burst bomb, but that doesn't change the fact that it's a nozzle nose.
Hey, now for the Neo Splash. It isn't as good as the OG because it doesn't have crab, but it has ink strikes, which are still pretty damn good.
Next is the Neo Sploosh, which is more a support-oriented weapon with its beacons and killer whale. It's still a sploosh, so it can't do much on its own.
Now for our final weapon, which is the Tri-Slosher Nouveau. It definitely has a better kit than the OG Tri-Slosher, and by better, I mean way better.
Yep, it's got fizzy bombs for paint and cooler for support. Well, that's it for the Splatoon weapon tier list. I'm pretty sure Trump's dumbass here got some things wrong, but I would say it's mostly right.
Of course, it's mostly right because I made it. Anyway, be sure to like and subscribe.
And be sure to turn on that notification bell.